Hi, guys.
Hey, Cameron, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, awesome.
So obviously last time we saw you, had your first loss on your record. What were some takeaways when you got to go back and watch the film and kind of just, rewatch it?
Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. Obviously, after that fight, I really thought that I did enough to walk away with the win. Obviously, the judges didn't think that. It was also quite heartbreaking. After the fight, I went to both my coaches. It was like, do you have round 1 and 3? I'm like, yeah, I think we do. And I actually went to Bisbing at the time and was like, sir, we have round 1 and 3, right? And he said, yeah, I think so. And the decision didn't go my way. Afterwards, had the time to focus on some medical issues we've had a big surgery, sorted out some stuff, and after watching the fight, I'm pretty proud of what we accomplished, not only in that fight, but in the camp building up to that. I'm 23 years old, turning 24 only in December. I want to be here for a very long time, and in doing that, I'm looking at the bigger picture. So after every fight, we assess where we can get better. And there's obviously a lot of those key points. And I think in this 6 months, we sorted out a lot of stuff, and you'll get to see that come fight night.
And so, of course, in fighting, injuries is a part of it. But when you get to kind of get one of those periods you're talking about, how refreshing is it to get rid of some of these lingering things and almost start fresh in a way?
Yeah, it's massive. I fought 4 times in 11 months. That's tough on anybody. It doesn't matter if you're 22 or 42 years old. And I train with absolute killers at Team CIT. So the pace is already very high in training, and now you have to sustain that year round. It's tough. So once life throws these little nuggets to you where it's like signs. Take a break, take a step back. And I really got to spend some amazing time with friends and family, have a very good mental recharge. And then the moment we started our camp, once we had a name, I was happy to be back in the gym.
And so, of course, no one in sports wants to lose, especially in a fight. But is there some positives to take away? Because like you said, you're 23, so a loss, it's not the end of the world. This is just the beginning of your career. Were there some positives that you took away from this experience? Definitely.
I'm still undefeated at 135, so that's fun, But it was, in terms of that fight, I'm very happy at the pace we fought at. I think we can improve on that. I do think that I got rocked. Honestly, I got rocked quite badly in that fight, and I really had to fight through that, so I know I can take a punch as well. And, coming up with my next opponent, he rates himself a striker. He's going to look to outpoint. He's going to look to land a lot of shots. I know for a fact that I will be able to handle that and will be able to counter.
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that, because Peyton was in here before. He didn't say anything disrespectful, but he said, hey, this is going to be a good fight, and he used that term, deep water. So what do you think when you hear that, and what do you expect when you guys get into that third round, if it gets there, and it does go into those deep waters?
I think this is probably the most excited I've ever been for a fight, not only because the moment we got this matchup, we were actually already in camp for someone else, and then we got the name, and I watched his Dana White Contender Series. I watched that live. I watched his UFC debut as well back home in South Africa. And I saw a lot of social media hype about the guy. And I was like, man, okay, the moment I saw a post on Instagram, I just had that feeling of sooner or later we're going to meet each other. So I'm glad it's happening now. And Deep Waters is correct. I think he's very skilled. I think he is a very good striker. He has very strong wrestling. He's very athletic. And I do think it's one of those contenders for fight of the night. And that's also something I'm very appreciative of. The hardcore fans that really like fighting are really putting this forward for their fight of the night. And I do think that can happen. My job at the end of the day is going to be to show you how many levels I'm above Peyton. And I have all respect for him. he is a really good fighter, and hopefully we can leave all of it in the UFC cage.
And so, obviously back into the Apex, do you have any type of thoughts when it comes to that, wanting to get back into arena, or is it, hey, wherever I got to fight, I'll fight?
Definitely, wherever they want me to fight, I'll fight. This is the 6th trip we've done to Vegas, including the Contender Series. I'm 1-1 in the Apex, so we need to fix that right now.
And so this feels absurd to ask for a 23-year-old, but this is going to be your 5th fight in the UFC. Are you starting to feel more comfortable in the octagon, almost feel like a veteran?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think that every single time, win or lose, like, you do feel more at home. And in the cage, whether there are 10,000 people there or just 300-400, it's a massive moment. It means the world to me. I don't do anything else. Fighting is my life, my team, my coaches, those guys are my family. So this means the world to me, and you'll see that gratitude in the cage.
And so last question for me, the Ultimate Fighter's about to kick off. One of your teammates, Mark, is going to be on there. Did you give him any advice? And the fans at home, what can they expect when he steps in there for the Ultimate Fighter? Mark
Hume doesn't need any advice. He is so ready. He's one, I've said this many times. I've said it, he's one of the best welterweights and middleweights in the world. He is unbelievable. And under our head coach, Morné Visser, I have no doubt that he'll have massive success, not only in the show, but once he gets his UFC contract, once he's the Ultimate Fighter, he'll make a name for himself in his own right, representing South Africa and Team CIT.
Thank you for your time, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
I've just got one for you. You mentioned in your last fight there was some confusion about the scoring. What would you think about open scoring? I know that's been something people have talked about. Would that have affected your fight at all, do you think?
Definitely. I think that's massive. In any sport in the world, most sports in the world, there's a tally. You can look up to a screen and see you either ahead or behind. Maybe that will affect guys being ahead. Maybe it will affect aggression. So you have to almost look at the flip of the coin. But open scoring is something that I do think can at least be looked at. And maybe have the guys vote. But fighters are not the smartest. So let's let the smarter guys decide that.
Thank you.
Hey, Cameron. I just wanted to know, were you surprised when they offered you Peyton? Because, he's a young prospect like yourself. You just fought a young prospect with C-Rod. So was the matchup kind of confusing to you, or do you think it makes sense?
It was quite confusing. We had a name first, which we were also happy with. I'm not going to disclose that now. And then they jumped to Peyton. So it was quite confusing. I really thought we were going to fight somewhere in my career. I didn't think it was going to happen now. But, Uncle Sean, if you want that, sure, let's do it now.
There seems to be a lot of hype on this guy. You had a lot of hype as well. Are you buying into this, like the hype train, or do you think, do you see him just as another Contender Series guy that has that attached to him?
I think he's flashy, he's athletic. I think he deserves the hype. I think he deserves the recognition. I think he had a very hard-fought fight in the Contender Series, and he really calmed some storms in the early rounds of his debut. So I do think he deserves everything coming his way, and that just makes me more excited for this fight, because I know how hard I worked for this opportunity. And we've been here before, so may the best man win.
And we haven't talked to you since DDP is the new middleweight champion. I just wanted to know, the night of the fight when he got that title, how excited were you? What were the emotions like?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I unfortunately couldn't be in Canada for his win. It was absolutely insane. I was actually at home watching it alone. I didn't want any fans, or I just wanted to watch his fight without any whispers, shouts, screams. And before they read the scorecards, I just kept yelling like, we have a UFC champion, like South Africa has a UFC champion. So Trickus he's always been that guy. He was always supposed to be the front runner for South African MMA, and he was able to do that. And that's just the surface of what we are capable of doing in the UFC as Team CIT.
We all saw the hero's welcome he received in South Africa. I guess, what's the climate been like? Like, what's the energy been like since he's been home?
It's been amazing. You know, we also have an amateur promotion back home in South Africa called Versus, where I also work with amateur athletes. We do matchmaking for amateur fights, and just hearing coaches call us, thanking us for what Drickus has done. Because of that, their gyms are just filling up with new members. So, you know, in terms of talent, we have so much talent. We are a few years behind in terms of structure to really get the talent that we need to really put guys forward in positions where they can be fighting for world titles. But it's been amazing. The sport of MMA is truly alive now in South Africa. We're getting more recognition. And we've come a long way. You know, we're in a small basement gym, and we were not a commercial gym at all. And yeah, it's developed quite quickly.
Seems like a no-brainer to take DDP to South Africa to defend. What's it going to take to get the UFC to go?
I think Uncle Dana just needs to buy his tickets, to be honest. I do think in terms of infrastructure, I think there's no better country in Africa than South Africa. And I've heard whispers of doing it somewhere else. Like, there's we've done the FIFA World Cup, we've done the Rugby World Cup. Our country is well equipped for the UFC to come there. If they can just find the perfect venue, we'll be able to free up our schedules for when they come.
And finally, for me, you being the match, you put your matchmaking hat on. Who should fight DDP next? Who should be his first title defense?
Without a doubt, Dricus du Plessis should face Israel Adesanya next. I think that's the fight that everyone wants to see. I think that's the fight that Dricus wants the most. We'll wait and see what happens.
Would you want to be on that card as well?
That 100%, without a doubt. You know, it is already a massive honor to represent your country overseas, but there's nothing like wearing those green shorts. I'm getting goosebumps just visualizing it, but being able to represent your country in your home country, especially if the UFC hasn't been there yet, that's a monumental event that I would like to be a part of.
Adesanya just makes sense for Dricus in that kind of event, but who would you like? You know, is anyone on in your radar who would be a suitable opponent for a show like that?
The guy on my radar at the moment is Peyton Talbot. After that, we'll be focusing on who's next. Thank you.
Yeah, fair enough. And you were saying about like the impact like you and Dricus have had with talent coming through and people, more participation rates in South African MMA. Have you ever spoken to Dana White or anyone at the UFC about a PI in South Africa? Because there's one in Shanghai. He's spoken about Nigeria, but you know, could there be an opportunity for that kind of growth as well?
We've never had that conversation, not yet. I do believe that that's something that will happen quite soon. In terms of talent, athleticness, I think hardworking people, nothing beats South Africans. So I do think that if they want to explore that option, we are there, and we've already have in CIT, we already have proper structure. So if there's one gym you need to talk to be able to really make it work, it's us.
Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Cameron, I just got one more. Sean O'Malley obviously just had his first title defense in Marlon Chito Vera. Did you watch the fight, and what'd you think of it if you did?
Brilliant fight. Like textbook, he fought so well against Vera, and it just shows his maturity in the sport. I think, you know, he came through the Contender Series just like I did, and just to see him get better with every single fight and really fight a textbook championship fight, it was very impressive. I had him beating Aljamain in the main event, and that's one guy that I do think that could be champion for a while. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do next in the bantamweight division. It's young, it's constantly shifting, there's already so much talent that makes me very excited. Great. Thank you, guys.